was only a matter of time the NBA implementing stricter health and safety guidelines in the midst of a breakout of positive coronavirus tests in close contacts. Oklahoma City Thunder guard George Hill has since questioned the logic to the protocol, saying, quote, "We want to play the game, but I don't understand some of the rules. We can sweat 48 minutes with the guy next to us for 48 minutes, but we can't talk to them afterwards. It makes no sense. I'm a grown man. I'm going to do what I want to do. If I want to go see my family, I'm going to go see my family. They can't tell me I have to stay in a room 24/7. If it's that serious, then maybe we shouldn't be playing." Max, do you think the NBA should continue on its current path, or do they need to go to a bubble format immediately?
I think they should have gone to a bubble from the beginning. I think they should go as soon as possible. And I think inevitably they're going to be in a bubble, and it's a matter of when. And George Hill's comments, I really don't like at all. Maybe they shouldn't be playing. You know, maybe the fact that we're playing sports is a reflection of failed leadership that acted like we could just plow through this pandemic. After all, when we originally shut everything down, the infection rate and the death totals daily were a tiny little fraction of where they are today. So we just kind of got used to it. And the tragedy, of course, is that there's a vaccine now, not in totally available, but it's available to many, and they'll be rolling it out, and people will be vaccinated, and we will beat this thing. But it's not like a vaccine is a cure. You get this thing now, you can still die from it. It's never been about just protecting the players. It's about that we're all potential vectors for the disease. You don't wear a mask to protect yourself. You wear a mask to protect others. My mask protects you. Your mask protects me. It's not about, you know, when George Hill says, I'm a grown man, I can do it, I can go here and go, yeah, okay, fine, but you're not being a good citizen. You're being irresponsible. And you are playing, and you are getting paid. So if there is no bubble, then what everyone has to accept, if you want to be responsible and get through this, is if it's an issue of, no, we can take personal responsibility, take it then. You can't have it both ways. If George Hill wants to get a paycheck, doesn't want to be in a bubble, and also doesn't want to follow protocols and be responsible, that makes no sense to me. And because I believe there are enough people, Stephen A., who feel as George Hill does, and you understand why, at a certain point you want to get back to your life. Because enough people feel like George Hill does, I believe the best course of action is to have a bubble like they just had, which was extremely successful. They had 0 COVID cases during that time.
Max, please understand, I'm not disagreeing with a bubble. I totally understand that. I don't disagree with you, but let me tell you why I'm going to address it differently than you just did, because my mind is somewhere else. Again, I agree with you, the bubble, but my mind is somewhere else. Max, do you notice that you have heard a whole bunch of players and folks complaining about the safety protocols that have been instituted by the NBA? Max, Charlie, do you know of any situation or circumstance where you them? Okay, so you would think that being as responsible as you possibly can, you know, would come to the forefront of your mind because you're thinking about somebody other than yourself. When you got contact tracing and things of those nature that can endanger the lives of other people, you know, you got to pay attention to those kind of things. Some of these guys are not doing that. And I don't think that George Hill really gets what he's saying here. Because think about what, Max, when you leave work or whatever, where you at, Max? You home, ain't you? Ain't you home with your family? I know I am. The point that I'm trying to make is there's a whole bunch of us that can't go. We can't hang out. We can't socialize. There's a lot of things we can't do as average, everyday American citizens. The things that were normal, it's not normal anymore. We can't do that right now. We got to get vaccinated. We got to make sure that, you know, you got to get those numbers down. You got to do all of those different things. The fact of the matter is the sacrifices that these players have to make where it appears a bit extreme is something that they brought on themselves. And here's the reason why, and I don't mean the COVID-19. I'm just talking about the circumstance. You don't want a bubble, right? So the NBA didn't give you a bubble. But they said no bars, no lounges, don't be in crowds of people or whatever. In other words, you got your immediate family, people that you are around all the time. You got to stick to them, because when you invite new people into your circle, ultimately you could expose yourself, and then you could expose players. And as a result, games got to be postponed, if not flat out canceled. And it's going to compromise our bottom line, which is ultimately going to compromise your bottom line. George Hill is an intelligent young man. He's been around the league for a while. He understands this. Why are you acting like you don't? You know better. The reality is that this is the situation we all got to deal with. There's no way around it. Okay, if you want to have a season. So again, Max, I don't disagree with you about the bubble. What I would say is that to give them anything close to a level of normalcy for the regular season, and then a bubble as the season wanes and we get to the postseason, is something that I would be more in favor of. But that's assuming that players are exhausting the means and measures to exercise all the safety protocols necessary. If you're not willing to do that, then damn it, you deserve the bubble, or just come out and announce, you know what? You don't have to pay me. Because I have no problem with one single player that stands up and says, you know what? You can keep your money. You don't have to pay me. I'm just going to go home and chill with my family. I have no problem with that. But don't play and whine and moan while you collecting a check that most people would never get under normal circumstances, let alone in an environment where 40 plus million people have been furloughed, 20 million jobs have been lost, and people out there struggling and starving. And we got food lines in the United States of America. People are standing on food lines miles long because they don't have a job and they don't have the means to feed themselves and their family. You cannot come out and say this kind of stuff publicly when you are in that privileged position, when all it's calling is for you to be sensitive enough and make the necessary sacrifice for the betterment of the whole, not just yourself. You cannot do that, George, or anyone who's thinking like George.
Hopefully, Stephen A., as you said, this, or alluded to, this is someone who's frustrated in the moment, no one likes to be told where to go, who to see, how to dress when you go outside. Nobody likes it. And it feels like it's an infringement on your, liberty in a way. I understand. That's why I'm a grown man. I'm going to make my own decisions. So hopefully that's just an expression of frustration. That would be understandable. Presumably, George Hill is not one of these paranoid morons who doesn't believe in the coronavirus, in COVID-19. He understands it actually exists, how it's transmitted, and the danger involved. And presumably also, he understands that what I said earlier, when you wear a mask, when you make those decisions, it's not about you and your health. You're protecting, my mask protects you, your mask protects me. The decisions we make protect each other. It really is a selfless behavior to wear a mask, to socially distance. It's not about your own health. It's selfless. And of course, when that gets frustrating, hopefully, Stephen A., he is simply expressing that frustration in the moment, and when he cools down, he will see the wisdom in following protocols.
George Hill, hold on, Charlie. George Hill, like most people in the NBA, especially the players, are really good dudes. But there's certain things you just can't say. And especially in this day and time, you can't say, quote, I'm going to do what I want to do. Because what you're saying is, to hell with everybody else. You cannot do that, George Hill. You better than that, bro. You cannot do that.
Yeah, guys, none of this is fun. We all know that much. We got to look out for each other, though. So hopefully he was just speaking out of frustration. But guys, we're going to leave it there. We are going to get back to Kyrie Irving and the soap opera that is his life. Oh, the drama continues. And